"If you scream, I'll stop." That's what he whispered on the first night. But the mansion and its secrets would awaken something in her that even she didn't recognize. And what seemed like passion turned into a pact impossible to break. If you enjoy love and romance stories, watch until the end, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. High in the Blue Ridge Mountains, where mist mingles with clouds and cutting winds whisper ancient secrets, stands Blackstone Manor. Built in the 19th century by coffee barons, the property remains imposing with its dark stone walls and tall windows that watch over the valley like vigilant eyes. It is here that Nathan Blackwood lives, known in New York business circles as the Wolf of Blue Ridge, a nickname that carries both admiration and fear. At 35, Nathan commands an empire built on coffee, technology, and investments, spanning from agribusiness to the country's most promising startups. But his fortune came with a price few know. 3 years ago, his fiancée Isabella Sinclair disappeared on the eve of their wedding. The circumstances were never fully clarified. Some say it was kidnapping, others that she ran away. But Nathan knows the truth that no one else can know. Since then, he has become an even more solitary, controlling, and unpredictable man. He imposed on himself an unbreakable rule: never to love again, never to lose control again. Emma Sinclair is 24 and was raised away from the world, behind the high walls of a convent in Asheville, North Carolina. Daughter of a traditional family that lost everything in failed investments and political scandals, she became a bargaining chip in a silent agreement between her bankrupt father and the Blackwood family. The Sinclairs need money, and the Blackwoods need a wife who will bring respectability to a name stained by speculation about Isabella's disappearance. Emma, who appears naive but carries a restless soul, accepts the marriage without fully understanding the depth of the abyss that opens before her. Educated in faith and renunciation by the nuns, Emma carries within her an unnameable thirst for freedom, for truth, and although she doesn't admit it even to herself, to be touched with intensity, to be desired overwhelmingly. When the black car with dark windows picks her up at the convent on a cold July morning, she watches the landscape gradually change through the window. The mountains become higher, the vegetation denser, and the sky heavier, as if she were being taken to another world. Blackstone Manor appears before her like a vision from a dark dream. The imposing construction, with its towers and porches covered with ivy, seems frozen in time. Emma is received by Martha, the housekeeper with cold eyes and grey hair pulled into a tight bun, who leads her through narrow corridors decorated with old portraits of men and women with serious expressions. The walls are covered with dark wallpaper and heavy mahogany furniture, as if the entire house were in permanent mourning. Nathan avoids meetings during the first few days. Emma sees him only fleetingly, a tall, imposing silhouette that disappears down the corridors, always dressed in black, always with the smell of fine wood and roasted coffee impregnated in his clothes. When they finally meet at dinner, he sits at the head of the long table, distant, observing her with dark eyes that seem to search her soul. He speaks little, but each word is measured, controlled, laden with an authority that makes Emma shiver. On the first night he enters her room, a spacious chamber decorated with antique furniture and heavy burgundy velvet curtains. The tension is like electricity trapped in the air. Emma was in a white nightgown, sitting in the armchair near the window, watching the rain that had begun to fall on the mountains. He enters without knocking, closing the door behind him with a soft click that echoes in the silence. He approaches slowly, like a feline studying its prey, his steps muffled by the Persian rug covering the wooden floor. Nathan stops a few centimeters from her, close enough for Emma to feel the heat emanating from his body and the masculine perfume that makes her dizzy. He extends his hand and lightly touches her chin, forcing her to look into his eyes. In a hoarse whisper that makes her skin tingle, he says the words that will haunt Emma for weeks. "If you scream, I'll stop." It's not a threat. It's a promise, a password, a warning, a limit established in a game whose rules she doesn't yet fully understand. Emma feels her heart race, a mixture of fear and something more primitive, more dangerous, running through her veins. She could scream, she could back away, she could run, but she does none of these things. She remains motionless, hypnotized by those eyes that seem to see through her, to the bottom of her soul. Emma doesn't scream, not because she isn't afraid. The fear is there, pulsating and real, but because something inside her bends to the desire to understand this man, to confront him, to discover what hides beneath the layers of contained fury and unresolved mourning. Nathan removes his hand without touching her further, takes a step back, and leaves the room without saying anything else, leaving Emma alone with her racing heart and a strange sensation that she has just crossed an invisible line. In the days following that first encounter, Emma feels as if she's living in two worlds simultaneously. During the day, Blackstone Manor reveals its seemingly normal routine: staff tending the gardens, the distant sound of cattle, the aroma of coffee being roasted in nearby sheds. But at night, when shadows lengthen along the corridors and the wind moans among the centuries-old trees, the property transforms into something completely different, darker, more laden with secrets. Nathan appears and disappears like a ghost. Emma sees him talking on the phone on the porch, his deep voice echoing commands for his businesses in New York. She watches him mounting a black horse in the morning, galloping along the mountain trails with a wild elegance that leaves her hypnotized. But when their gazes cross during silent meals, she feels that same electricity from their first encounter, a tension that seems to grow each day. Martha, the housekeeper, treats Emma with a cold, distant cordiality. The middle-aged woman seems to know all the secrets of the house, moving through the corridors with silent steps, always appearing at the most unexpected moments. When Emma asks questions about the property or about Nathan, Martha skillfully changes the subject, or simply withdraws without giving explanations. It's during one of these conversations that Emma notices something strange. While Martha arranges her clothes in the wardrobe, she casually mentions that Emma's room was occupied before. "The previous miss liked this view very much," she says, pointing to the window overlooking the valley. When Emma asks about this person, Martha immediately falls silent, as if she had said something she shouldn't have. That same night, Nathan returns to her room. This time, Emma was reading an old book she had found in the house's library, sitting on the bed with her legs folded and her hair falling loose over her shoulders. He enters without warning, as the first time, but now carries 2 glasses of red wine. He offers one to her without saying a word, and Emma accepts, her fingers lightly brushing his during the gesture. "You didn't ask why you married me," says Nathan, his voice softer than usual but still carrying that authority that makes her shiver. Emma takes a sip of the wine, feeling the warm liquid go down her throat. "I thought it was obvious," she replies. "My family needed the money. You needed a wife. Is that all?" He approaches the bed, sitting on the edge, close enough for Emma to smell his masculine perfume mixed with the woody aroma of the wine. Should it be more? The question leaves Emma's mouth before she can think, and she immediately regrets it when she sees the dangerous gleam that appears in Nathan's eyes. He places the glass on the bedside table and leans toward her, one hand supporting himself on the mattress near her hip. "Depends on what you want it to be," he whispers, his face a few centimeters from hers. Emma feels his breath against her skin, warm and seductive. For a moment that seems eternal, they remain like this, motionless, studying each other. Emma can see the details of his face, the expression lines around his dark eyes, the almost imperceptible scar on his chin, the way his lips contract slightly when he's focused. There's something hypnotic in that gaze, an intensity that makes her forget where she is and why she's there. But then Nathan abruptly pulls away, picking up his glass and rising from the bed. "Good night, Emma," he says, his voice returning to its usual controlled tone. She remains there, alone again, with her heart racing and a strange feeling of abandonment. The next morning, Emma decides to explore the property better. Martha had mentioned there was a larger library on the upper floor, in a wing of the house she hadn't yet visited. Climbing a dark wooden staircase that creaks with each step, she encounters a long corridor decorated with old portraits. The paintings show generations of the Blackwood family, men and women with serious expressions, dressed in clothes from different eras. It's when Emma stops in front of one of the paintings that her blood freezes. The woman portrayed has dark, wavy hair exactly like hers, the same face shape, the same green eyes. The resemblance is so striking that for a moment she has the sensation of looking into a mirror. On the golden plaque below the painting it reads, "Isabella Sinclair Blackwood, 1995-2021. Emma feels her legs weaken. Isabella, the missing fiancée. The woman no one talks about, but whose presence seems to permeate every corner of the manor, and she had her face. Exactly her face. Impressive, isn't it? Nathan's voice emerges behind her, making Emma jump in fright. He approaches slowly, his eyes fixed on the portrait. The resemblance is disturbing. Is that why you married me? The question comes out in a weaker voice than Emma would like, but she needs to know. Because I look like her? Nathan remains silent for a long moment, his eyes alternating between Emma and the portrait. When he finally speaks, his voice carries a sadness she had never heard before. Isabella died 3 days before our wedding. They found her body in the lake at the bottom of the property. The world seems to spin around Emma. Died? But I thought... They said she had disappeared. That's what the world knows. Nathan turns to her, his dark eyes now laden with deep pain. The truth is more complicated and dangerous. Emma feels she's about to discover something that will change everything, but before she can ask any questions, Nathan is already walking away. Don't return to this wing alone, he says without looking back. It's dangerous, but Emma knows it's too late for warnings. Curiosity has been awakened, and she needs to discover the truth about Isabella Sinclair, and about why she, Emma Sinclair, was chosen to take the place of a dead woman. During the following days, Emma can't get the image of Isabella out of her head. The resemblance between them is hauntingly perfect, as if they were twin sisters separated by time and tragedy. She begins to observe every detail of the manor with new eyes, looking for traces of the woman who occupied her place before her. There are flowers that seem to have been planted recently in the garden, a soft perfume that sometimes floats through the corridors when there's no one around, and a constant feeling of being watched. It's Lucy, a young mute maid who works on the property, who first tries to communicate with Emma differently. The girl of approximately 18, daughter of one of the manor's caretakers, lost her voice in an accident as a child, but her expressive eyes say more than many words. During an afternoon when Emma is in the library, Lucy silently appears and leaves a small note between the pages of a book of poetry that Emma was reading. "Don't open the door to the West Tower," says the paper written with careful handwriting. "Don't answer the calls at night." Emma quickly puts away the note when she hears footsteps approaching. It's Martha, who enters the library with a tea tray, her cold eyes sweeping the environment as if she could sense that something was happening there. "Is the miss adapting well to the reading?" she asks, placing the tray on a nearby table with precise movements. "Yes, thank you." "This library is impressive," Emma responds, trying to appear natural while discreetly sliding the book beneath other volumes. Mr. Nathan has always had a passion for books, just like Miss Isabella. The name leaves Martha's mouth as if it were something natural, but Emma notices the tension that settles in the air immediately after the mention. "Martha," Emma approaches the housekeeper carefully, "may I ask about Isabella? I know it's a delicate subject, but there's nothing to ask." The response comes quickly and sharply. The past should remain in the past. The miss would do well to focus on the present. But Emma can't focus on the present when the past seems to be alive around her. That night, after the whole house falls asleep, she decides to explore the wing that Nathan forbade her to visit. Walking barefoot across the wooden floors to avoid noise, guided only by the moonlight entering through the high windows, she heads toward the West Tower mentioned in Lucy's note. The tower is a construction annexed to the main house, connected by a covered passage. As Emma approaches, she feels the air become heavier and colder. There's a solid wooden door at the end of the corridor, and even in the dark, she can see it's locked. But when she puts her ear to the door, she hears something that makes her blood freeze. A soft rhythmic breathing, as if someone were sleeping on the other side. "You shouldn't be here." Nathan's voice emerges from the shadows, making Emma jump in fright. He materializes in the corridor like an apparition, still dressed in the day's clothes, as if he hadn't gone to sleep. I got lost." Emma tries to lie, but the expression in his eyes makes it clear he doesn't believe her excuse. "Liar," he whispers, approaching slowly. When he's close enough, he extends his hand and touches her face, his fingers tracing the contour of her cheek with a delicacy that contrasts with the hardness in his voice. "You were always too curious for your own good." There's something in the way he says "always" that makes Emma shudder, as if he's known her for much longer than he actually has. "Nathan, what's in this room? Who's in there?" For a moment she sees something breaking in his eyes, a vulnerability that disappears so quickly she almost believes she imagined it. "Someone who should be dead," he answers, his voice laden with deep pain. Before Emma can fully process this response, Nathan picks her up in his arms, lifting her from the floor with ease. "Enough questions for today," he says, carrying her back down the corridor. Emma struggles weakly, but his strength is much greater, and a secret part of her surrenders to that sensation of being carried, protected, even if she doesn't understand from what. He takes her back to her room and gently deposits her on the bed. For a moment they remain silent, looking into each other's eyes. Emma can feel the sexual tension growing between them with each encounter, a magnetic attraction that seems to escape the control of both. "Why did you marry me, Nathan?" she asks again, but this time her voice carries a vulnerability that wasn't there before. He leans over her, supporting his hands on either side of her body, his face close enough for their breaths to mingle. "Because you're identical to her," he whispers against her lips, "and because unlike her you're not afraid of me. Should I be?" "Yes," the answer comes without hesitation. "You should be very afraid." But even saying this, Nathan pulls away without touching her more intimately, leaving Emma alone with her racing heart and more questions than answers. She remains awake until dawn, thinking about the breathing she heard behind the locked door and the way Nathan spoke about someone who should be dead. When the sun rises over the Blue Ridge Mountains, Emma makes a decision. She will discover the truth about Isabella Sinclair, even if it means defying Nathan and all the dark secrets of Blackstone Manor, because something inside her whispers that her life may depend on it. The next morning, while having coffee alone in the spacious kitchen, Emma notices that Lucy is intensely observing her from afar. The mute young woman makes discreet gestures, pointing to the window overlooking the gardens. When Emma looks in the indicated direction, she sees a path winding into the woods that she had never noticed before. And there, almost imperceptible among the trees, a small stone construction that seems to have been abandoned for years. Lucy approaches and leaves another note beside Emma's coffee cup. Family cemetery. Isabella isn't there. The discovery of the family cemetery consumes Emma's thoughts throughout the day. She waits until the afternoon, when Nathan leaves to handle business in the city, and Martha is busy supervising the house cleaning, to follow the path indicated by Lucy. The path winds among ancient trees and giant ferns, the humid air laden with the smell of wet earth and decomposing leaves. The cemetery is small and surrounded by a low stone wall covered with moss. Some tombs are old, with elaborate headstones dating from the 19th century, while others are more recent. Emma walks among them reading the engraved names. Generations of Blackwoods rest there, all with respectful epitaphs and dates that tell the story of a powerful family. But no matter how much she searches, she doesn't find any tomb with the name Isabella Sinclair. She was right, Emma whispers to herself, remembering Lucy's note. If Isabella died, as Nathan claimed, where was her body? And if she didn't die, who was the person locked in the West Tower? Upon returning to the house, Emma finds Lucy in the laundry room, folding white sheets with precise movements. The young mute quickly raises her eyes when she sees her enter, and Emma notices an anxiety in the girl's dark eyes. Lucy deliberately drops a sheet on the floor and, when she bends to pick it up, whispers just one word that makes Emma's heart race: "Sister." Before Emma can fully process what she heard, Martha appears at the laundry room door. "Lucy, finish this later. Go help your father in the stable." The order comes in a firm tone, and the young woman quickly leaves, but not before casting a meaningful look at Emma. "The miss shouldn't be talking with the staff," says Martha, organizing the already folded sheets with abrupt movements. "They sometimes say things they shouldn't." "What kind of things?" Emma tries to appear casual, but she feels the tension in the air. "Gossip, made-up stories. You know how simple country people are." Martha avoids Emma's gaze, focusing excessively on the task. "It's better to keep your distance." But Emma cannot keep her distance, not when each new piece of information brings her closer to the truth. That night, she waits until she's sure everyone is sleeping before leaving her room again. This time she doesn't go to the West Tower. Instead, she heads to Martha's quarters on the ground floor of the house near the kitchen. The housekeeper's door is ajar, and Emma can hear a conversation in a low voice. Carefully approaching, she recognizes Martha's voice talking on the phone. "She's asking too many questions. I don't know how long we can keep the secret." "Yes, I know it was your idea to bring her, but I didn't imagine she would be so similar. Nathan is losing control. I can see it in his eyes. No, she doesn't know yet, but it's a matter of time. Emma's heart beats so hard she's sure Martha can hear it. She silently moves away, returning to her room with her mind in turmoil. Someone planned her coming to the manor, someone who knew about her resemblance to Isabella. But who? And why? The next morning, Nathan returns from his trip with an even darker mood than usual. During breakfast, he barely touches the food, limiting himself to observing Emma with an intensity that makes her uncomfortable. When she asks about his business in the city, he responds evasively, quickly changing the subject. "I need to travel again," he says, finishing his coffee in one gulp. "I'll be gone for 3 days. Martha will take care of everything. Can I go with you?" The question leaves Emma's mouth before she can think better of it. The idea of staying alone in the manor with all those secrets makes her anxious. No, the answer is categorical. It's business. You will stay here. There's something in the way he says this that sounds more like an order than a suggestion. Emma feels a pang of irritation grow in her chest. "I'm not your prisoner, Nathan." He stops getting up from the table and looks at her with an expression she has never seen before. There's something dangerous in those dark eyes, an intensity that makes her immediately regret having spoken. "Aren't you?" he asks, his voice low and controlled. "Are you sure about that?" The silence that follows is laden with tension. Emma feels as if she's just stepped onto dangerous ground, but at the same time a rebellious part of her refuses to back down. "I have the right to know what's happening here. I have the right to know the truth about Isabella." Nathan approaches her slowly, circling the table until he stands beside her chair. He leans down until his face is close to her ear. "Some rights are lost when you enter this house," he whispers, his warm breath against her skin. "And some truths are too dangerous to be known." Emma feels a shiver run down her spine, but she can't distinguish if it's from fear or excitement. There's something magnetic in Nathan's proximity, a primitive attraction that defies her logic and her caution. "What happened to Isabella?" she insists, turning her face to look him in the eyes. For a moment, Nathan hesitates. Emma sees something moving behind those dark eyes, an internal struggle between the desire to confess and the need to keep secrets. Finally, he backs away, moving away from her. "Isabella asked too many questions," he says, adjusting his shirt cuffs with controlled movements. "Just like you're doing now. And what happened to her? She discovered things she shouldn't have discovered." Nathan heads to the door but stops before leaving. "Be smarter than her, Emma. Some doors shouldn't be opened." After he leaves, Emma is left alone with Martha and the other manor staff. It's the perfect opportunity to investigate, but also the moment of greatest danger. During the afternoon, while Martha is busy with the property accounts, Emma manages to talk with Lucy again in the stables. The mute young woman seems agitated, constantly looking around as if fearing being seen. When she's sure they're alone, she takes Emma's hand and guides her to a dark corner of the stable, where she whispers again, "Your sister is alive. West Tower. Key in the kitchen, blue cabinet drawer." Before Emma can ask any questions, Lucy quickly moves away, returning to her tasks as if nothing had happened. But the revelation echoes in Emma's mind like thunder. Isabella Sinclair is her sister, and she's alive, locked in the West Tower of Blackstone Manor. Lucy's revelation echoes in Emma's mind throughout the afternoon. Isabella Sinclair? Her sister? How is this possible? Emma always believed she was an only child, raised by nuns from a young age after her mother's premature death. Her father, Richard Sinclair, never mentioned having other children. But now pieces of fragmented memories begin to make sense. Whispered conversations among the nuns when they thought she wasn't listening. Looks of pity when they mentioned her family, the way her father always avoided talking about the past. Emma waits until nightfall to put her plan into action. Martha retired to her quarters after dinner, and the other staff had already returned to their homes in the nearby village. The manor is wrapped in a heavy silence, broken only by the wind moaning among the trees and the distant noise of animals in the pastures. Walking barefoot across the wooden floors to avoid noise, Emma heads to the kitchen. The blue cabinet mentioned by Lucy is near the pantry, an old painted wooden piece of furniture that seems decades old. Her hands tremble slightly when she opens the top drawer, feeling in the dark until she touches the cold metal of the key. It's an old key, large and ornate, exactly like those that open the manor's oldest doors. The path to the West Tower seems longer in the darkness. With each step, Emma feels her heart accelerate, a mixture of fear and determination driving her forward. When she finally reaches the solid wooden door, she hesitates for a moment, the heavy key in her hands. On the other side of this door may be her sister, a woman believed to be dead, a woman who may have all the answers she's looking for. The lock turns with a soft click, and the door opens, revealing a spiral staircase ascending the tower. Emma climbs the stone steps, guided only by the weak moonlight entering through the small windows. At the top of the stairs, there's another door, this one just ajar. Emma pushes it slowly, and what she sees on the other side leaves her breathless. The room is circular and comfortably furnished, with soft carpets, a large bed covered with embroidered quilts, shelves filled with books, and an armchair near the window. But what really shocks Emma is the woman sitting in this armchair, observing her with eyes that are exactly like her own. Isabella Sinclair is alive, and the resemblance between them is even more striking in person than Emma had imagined. It's like looking into a mirror that reflects not only her physical appearance, but also her expressions and gestures. Isabella seems to be the same age as Emma, perhaps a few months older, and wears a simple white cotton dress that highlights her dark hair. "Finally," says Isabella, her voice soft but laden with deep sadness. "I knew you would come. I always knew you would discover it eventually." "Isabella?" Emma's voice comes out as a hoarse whisper. Are you really my sister?" Isabella rises from the armchair with graceful movements, slowly approaching. "I'm your twin sister, Emma. We were separated when we were babies, after our mother died in childbirth. Our father couldn't raise 2 children alone, so he gave me to the Sinclair family, who couldn't have children of their own." Emma's legs fail, and she leans against the wall to avoid falling. "Twins? But why did no one ever tell me?" "Because it was safer that way." Isabella comes closer, extending her hand to touch Emma's face. "You were raised away from the world, protected in the convent. I was raised as the Sinclair's heir, prepared to marry Nathan and unite 2 powerful families. But you died. Nathan said you died in the lake." A bitter smile crosses Isabella's face. "I should have died. In fact, I almost died, but Nathan saved me, brought me here, kept me hidden." She moves away, returning to near the window. "He discovered I was being used, that our marriage was part of a much larger and more dangerous plan." Emma approaches, still trying to process all the information. "What kind of plan?" "Our father, Richard Sinclair, owes a lot of money to dangerous people. Not just common money, but debts contracted with criminal organizations in New York. When he couldn't pay, they offered an alternative. He would deliver one of his daughters to settle the debt." Emma's blood freezes. "One of his daughters?" "Initially, I would be delivered through marriage to Nathan, whom they believed was involved with money laundering through his businesses. But Nathan discovered the plan before the wedding. The night before the ceremony, armed men invaded the manor to kidnap me. Nathan managed to save me, but to protect us both, he faked my death." Emma feels as if the floor is moving beneath her feet. "And now they brought you to take my place," Isabella completes, her voice laden with pain. "They didn't know of our existence until recently. When they discovered it, they saw the perfect opportunity. If I was dead, you could easily replace me. But does Nathan know who I am?" Isabella hesitates before answering. "Nathan knows you're my sister. He agreed to the plan because he believed he could protect you better than he protected me. But there's one thing he doesn't know." "What?" "That I'm pregnant, and that the child is his." The world seems to collapse around Emma. Her twin sister is alive, pregnant by the man she married, kept in captivity for her own protection, while Emma was brought as a substitute in a criminal debt that could cost her life. "I need to get out of here," Emma whispers, heading to the door. "I need to—" "You can't leave," Isabella interrupts her. "If you try to flee, they'll find you, and they'll kill us both to silence any evidence. So what do I do? Stay here forever, pretending to be you?" "No." Isabella's voice becomes firmer. "We find a way to end this. Together." Before Emma can ask what Isabella means, they hear the sound of footsteps on the stairs. Emma freezes, realizing she's been discovered. The door opens, and Nathan appears in the doorway, his eyes scanning the room until they land on Emma. The expression on his face is indescribable, a mixture of fury, despair, and something that might be relief. "I knew you would eventually find your way here," he says, entering the room and closing the door behind him. "You were always too stubborn for your own good." "Nathan," Isabella approaches him, a protective hand over her not yet visible womb. She needed to know the truth. Nathan looks from one sister to the other, and Emma can see the deep pain in his eyes. "The truth will kill her," he says, his voice laden with an anguish she had never heard before. "As it almost killed you." "Then protect me," Emma hears herself saying, her own voice surprising her with its firmness. "Protect us both. You're powerful enough for that." Nathan looks at her for a long moment, and something changes in his expression. "Protecting you means going against people who won't hesitate to kill anyone who gets in their way. It means abandoning everything I've built my entire life." "And would you do that?" Emma approaches him, looking directly into his eyes. "For her? For me?" The answer doesn't come in words. Nathan approaches Emma, takes her face in his hands, and kisses her with a desperate intensity, as if it were the last kiss of their lives. And perhaps it is. The kiss between Nathan and Emma is interrupted by Isabella's soft but firm voice. "We need to talk, all three of us." There's a maturity in her voice that contrasts with her delicate appearance, as if the months in captivity, even though voluntary, have taught her things that Emma is still discovering. Nathan slowly pulls away from Emma, but keeps one hand on her waist, as if fearing she might disappear if he lets go completely. His eyes alternate between the two sisters, and Emma can see the conflict consuming him. "How did you know I had returned?" he asks Isabella. "Martha told me. She always tells me when you return from a trip earlier than planned." Isabella sits on the bed, gesturing for Emma and Nathan to come closer. "And I know why you came back. They contacted you, didn't they?" Nathan closes his eyes for a moment, as if trying to ward off physical pain. "They set a meeting for tomorrow night. They want to meet my new wife." Emma feels the blood freeze in her veins. "Who are they?" "Your father's creditors," Nathan responds, his voice laden with contained anger. "Men who turned gambling debts into something much larger and more dangerous. They have connections to trafficking, money laundering, kidnappings. They're not people to be trifled with. And what do they want with me?" Isabella is the one who answers. "They want to make sure you're a suitable replacement, that you can fulfill the role I was supposed to fulfill." "What role?" Nathan approaches the window, looking out into the darkness. "Being the wife of a man they believe they can use to launder dirty money through my legitimate businesses. They don't know I discovered their plan months ago, and that I have evidence of everything." Emma abruptly stands up. "Then why haven't you reported them to the police?" "Because some of them are the police," the answer comes from Isabella. "Sheriffs, prosecutors, judges, the corruption goes deeper than you can imagine." The silence that follows is heavy, laden with terrible implications. Emma walks around the circular room trying to process everything. "So we're trapped. You pretending to be dead, me pretending to be you, and Nathan caught in the middle of it all." "Not necessarily." Nathan turns to them, and there's something different in his eyes now. A determination that wasn't there before. "There's a way out, but it's risky. More risky than continuing to live this lie?" Nathan approaches Emma again, taking her hands. "Much more risky. It could mean death for all of us." Emma looks into his eyes and sees not just the powerful, controlling man who intimidated her, but also someone who is fighting to protect the people he loves. And she realizes with a clarity that surprises her that she has fallen in love with him, not because of her resemblance to Isabella, not because of a confusion of identities, but for who he really is beneath all the layers of protection and control. "Tell me the plan," she says. Nathan hesitates, looking at Isabella, who nods encouragingly. "Tomorrow night, when they come to meet you, we'll confront them. We'll reveal that Isabella is alive and that we have evidence of everything. But for this to work, we need to have a guaranteed escape route and protection." "What kind of protection?" "I have a contact in the FBI, someone I trust completely. He's been investigating this network for years, but never had enough evidence. If we hand over everything we have, they'll kill us before we can hand over anything," Isabella interrupts. "Not if we do it the right way." Nathan sits next to Isabella on the bed, including Emma in the circle by taking her hand. "The meeting will be here at the manor. I'll record everything. My contact will be hidden with a team, ready to act at the right moment." Emma feels a mixture of fear and excitement. "And if it goes wrong?" "If it goes wrong, at least we'll die fighting instead of living as prisoners." Isabella places her hand on her womb. "And my child?" "Our child?" Nathan looks at her with a tenderness that makes Emma's heart ache. She realizes that despite everything, he still loves Isabella, and Isabella loves him too. Where does that leave Emma? As if she could read her thoughts, Isabella stands and goes to Emma. You've fallen in love with him. It's not a question, but a gentle statement. Emma feels her cheeks flush. I don't know. I know. Isabella smiles sadly. Because I've seen the way he looks at you. It's different from how he looked at me. Isabella, no, let me finish. Isabella takes Emma's hands. Nathan loved me, it's true, but it was a love based on what he thought I was, on the woman he wanted me to be. With you it's different. He loves you for who you really are. Nathan approaches the two. Isabella. No, Nathan. You need to hear this too. Isabella turns to him. I love you. I always will. You saved my life, gave me a child, but I'm not in love with you, not the way I should be. The silence that follows is laden with conflicting emotions. Emma feels as if she's watching a conversation that should be private, but at the same time knows that her future depends on these words. When this is all over, Isabella continues, when we're safe, I want to raise our child away from here. Start a new life, and you two deserve the chance to be together. Nathan remains silent for a long moment, processing Isabella's words. When he finally speaks, his voice is low and laden with emotion. Are you sure? I'm sure that I want all of us to be happy, and I know that Emma can love you in a way I never could. Emma feels tears burning her eyes. Isabella's generosity, the way she's willing to let go of Nathan so both can be happy, is something she would never have expected to find in such a complex situation. But first, Nathan stands, returning to the practical tone that Emma already knows well. We need to survive tomorrow night. They spend the rest of the night planning every detail. Nathan shows the evidence he's collected over the months. Phone recordings, bank documents, photographs of secret meetings. Isabella reveals information she heard during her time with the Sinclair family. Names of people involved in the corruption network. When the sun begins to rise over the Blue Ridge Mountains, painting the sky in pink and gold, they have a plan. It's risky, perhaps suicidal, but it's the only chance they have to free themselves once and for all. Emma looks out the tower window, watching the manor wake up to another day. In a few hours, dangerous men will set foot on this property, expecting to find a docile and manipulable woman. Instead, they'll find 3 people determined to fight for their freedom, no matter the cost. She feels Nathan's hand rest on her shoulder, and when she turns, she sees in his eyes the same determination she feels growing in her own chest. Are you sure you want to do this? He asks. Emma looks at Isabella, who nods encouragingly, then back to Nathan. I'm sure I don't want to live in fear forever. He pulls her into his arms, holding her tight. Then let's end this tonight. The day leading up to the confrontation passes with torturous slowness. Emma returns to the main bedroom of the house to keep up appearances, in case someone is watching, but each moment is laden with tension. Nathan leaves early, officially to handle business, but actually to meet with the FBI agent and finalize preparations. Isabella remains hidden in the tower, but now Emma can visit her freely, knowing that Martha is also part of the protection plan. During lunch, Martha reveals more details about her role in the plot. I've worked for the Blackwood family for 20 years, she explains, serving homemade soup to Emma. I watched Nathan grow up, saw the kindness that exists in his heart, even when the world tried to harden him. When Isabella arrived here, threatened and scared, I didn't hesitate to help them. Why did you never tell me the truth before? Because we needed to be sure you weren't a spy sent by them. Some people have already tried to infiltrate here, posing as maids, visitors, even as romantic interests in Nathan. Martha pauses, studying Emma's face. But you're different. You have the same strong spirit as Isabella, but also an innocence that she's already lost. In the afternoon, Emma goes back up to the tower to be with Isabella. The two sisters talk about their separate childhoods, filling in the gaps of a lifetime without knowing each other. Isabella tells about her privileged upbringing with the Sinclairs, but also about the constant pressure to be perfect, to meet the expectations of a family that saw her more as an investment than as a daughter. Sometimes I envy your upbringing in the convent, Isabella confesses, caressing the womb where a small curve is already beginning to show. You grew up protected, loved by the sisters, without the pressure of having to be someone you weren't. But you had a family, Emma responds. I always felt incomplete, as if a part of me was lost. Now I know it was you. When Nathan returns late in the afternoon, he brings news that changes everything. They won't be coming alone, he announces, entering the tower where the two sisters await him. My contact discovered they plan to bring at least 6 armed men. It's not just a social meeting, it's a show of force. Does this change our plan? It changes it a lot. Now we need to ensure you two are safe even before they arrive here. Nathan walks around the room, the tension visible in every movement. I'll send you to Atlanta, to a safe location. I'll stay here and finish this alone. No. The two sisters speak at the same time, surprising even themselves. Isabella rises from the bed where she was resting. Nathan, if you face them alone, they'll kill you, and then they'll come after us. If you stay here, I might lose focus trying to protect you. It's better this way. Emma approaches him, taking his hands. What if there's a third option? What option? I turn myself over to them. I go as Emma Sinclair, assume the identity, do what they want. That gives you and Isabella time to escape with the evidence. Are you crazy? Nathan grabs her by the shoulders, shaking her slightly. They'll use you, Emma, and when they don't need you anymore, they'll kill you. Not if Isabella officially dies today. If she truly dies for the whole world to see, they won't have any reason to keep me alive as a substitute. Isabella slowly approaches, understanding where Emma wants to go. An accident, she whispers. I could have an accident, be found dead, with an unrecognizable body. No, Nathan is categorical. I'm not going to fake the death of both of you. It was enough to fake your death once, Isabella. But Emma sees the logic in the idea. If Isabella officially dies and I fully assume the identity of Emma Sinclair, they'll have no reason to suspect anything. I can be the obedient wife long enough for you to deliver the evidence and the FBI to act. The silence that follows is tense. Nathan walks to the window, looking at the valley stretching below the manor. Emma can see the internal struggle he wages, weighing options that all involve terrible losses. There's a fourth option, he finally says, turning to them. Riskier than all the others, but it might work. What? We face them together, but not as victims, as a family that's fighting to protect what's theirs. Nathan approaches the two sisters. Isabella doesn't need to hide. She appears as my wife, pregnant and happy. Emma appears as the sister who came to visit us. When they realize the deception, we'll already have all the confessions recorded. Isabella shakes her head. It's too dangerous. If they realize they've been deceived from the beginning, they'll kill us, Emma completes, but at least we'll die as a family. The word family hangs in the air between them. It's the first time Emma has pronounced it referring to the three of them, and the emotional weight is almost tangible. Nathan closes his eyes for a moment, then opens them with an iron determination. Then that's it. We face them together. They spend the rest of the afternoon rehearsing every detail. Isabella needs to prepare to come down from the tower for the first time in months to convincingly resume the role of Nathan's wife. Emma needs to learn to be the visiting sister-in-law, natural and carefree. Nathan needs to prepare to be the man they believe he is, corruptible, ambitious, willing to do dirty business. When the sun sets over the Blue Ridge Mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, they are ready. Isabella descends the tower stairs for the first time in months, wearing a dark blue dress that discreetly disguises her pregnancy. Emma has chosen a simple, elegant dress, her hair styled differently from Isabella's to accentuate their small differences. Nathan wears a dark suit and checks one last time the recording devices hidden throughout the living room where they'll receive the visitors. In the kitchen, Martha prepares an elaborate dinner, maintaining the facade of domestic normality. At 8 o'clock, they hear the sound of cars coming up the manor's driveway. There are 3 vehicles, all with dark windows, confirming they've come in greater numbers than expected. Emma feels her heart race, but when she looks at Nathan and Isabella, she sees the same determination that she feels growing in her own chest. Remember, Nathan whispers as they head to the living room, be natural. They're here to meet the happy family. That's what we'll give them. The doorbell rings, echoing through the house like an omen. Martha goes to answer, and Emma hears male voices in the entrance hall. Voices that speak with the authority of those accustomed to being obeyed, of those who never accept a no for an answer. Nathan takes Isabella's hand and Emma's, squeezing them gently. Whatever the outcome, he whispers, I love you both, each in a different way, but both completely. The living room doors open, and 6 men enter, led by a tall, thin man of approximately 50, wearing an expensive suit and an expression that doesn't hide the cruelty behind cold eyes. "Nathan," the man smiles, but the smile doesn't reach his eyes. "How good to finally meet your family." The deadly game is about to begin. The man leading the group introduces himself as Victor Marsh, and Emma immediately realizes she's facing someone accustomed to power and violence. His eyes scan the room with the precision of a predator evaluating territory, lingering long on Isabella and then on Emma. The other 5 men position themselves strategically around the room, seemingly relaxed, but Emma notices how their hands remain close to their jackets, where they certainly carry weapons. "Nathan, what a lovely surprise to have the family gathered." Victor approaches Isabella, extending his hand in an apparently courteous manner. "You must be the famous Isabella, or should I say, Emma Sinclair." The silence that follows is laden with tension. Emma feels her heart stop for a moment, realizing they know more than they had imagined. But Isabella responds with impressive calm. "I'm Isabella Sinclair Blackwood. This is my sister Emma Sinclair, who has come to visit us." Victor smiles, but it's an icy smile that doesn't hide his distrust. "Sister? What an interesting coincidence. 2 such similar women casually gathered here." He turns to Emma. "And you, dear, how are you adapting to life at the manor?" "Very well, thank you," Emma responds, trying to keep her voice steady. "Nathan and Isabella have been very hospitable." "I'm sure they have." Victor accepts the glass of wine that Nathan offers, but doesn't drink immediately. Instead, he continues studying the 2 women. "You know, we've had some difficulties recently. Certain people haven't fulfilled agreed-upon arrangements. Certain debts haven't been honored." Nathan maintains his neutral expression. "I imagine you're referring to Richard Sinclair. His debts were transferred to me when I married his daughter." "Exactly, and that's what we need to talk about." Victor finally takes a sip of the wine, his eyes never ceasing to observe the group. "You see, the problem is that there have been some inconsistencies in the information we received. First, we were told that Isabella Sinclair had died tragically. Then we discovered that Emma Sinclair married you. Now we find the 2 together, alive and apparently well." Emma feels cold sweat running down her back. They know. Somehow they've discovered part of the truth. Isabella gracefully stands, one hand resting discreetly on her womb. "There was a misunderstanding about my death. It was a suicide attempt that Nathan managed to prevent. We kept it secret to avoid family scandals." "Suicide attempt?" Victor raises an eyebrow. "And why would a young rich woman try to take her own life?" "Post-traumatic depression," Nathan intervenes, protectively placing his arm around Isabella's shoulders. "After discovering our pregnancy had been lost in the first trimester." Emma admires Nathan's quickness in creating a story that explains Isabella's seclusion while keeping her current pregnancy a secret. But she can see from Victor's expression that he's not completely convinced. "I understand." Victor sets down the glass and approaches the group more closely. "And you, Emma, came to support your sister in this difficult time." "Exactly. We're very close." "Even having been separated in childhood and raised in completely different environments?" The question comes laden with suspicion. It's impressive how 2 sisters who barely knew each other can be so identical in appearance and mannerisms. One of Victor's men approaches and whispers something in his ear. Victor nods and turns back to the group. "It seems we have a small problem. My men found some interesting equipment hidden around the house. Recording equipment." Emma's heart plummets. "They've been discovered." Nathan maintains his impassive expression, but she can see the tension in his muscles. "Recording equipment?" Nathan asks, feigning surprise. "There must be some misunderstanding. This is a private property. I have no reason to record anything." "Don't you?" Victor smiles again, and this time Emma can see the total cruelty in his eyes. "Or perhaps you have many reasons. Perhaps you're trying to gather evidence against people you consider enemies." The game is over. Emma can feel the change in the air, the way the other men position themselves more strategically, hands moving discreetly toward their weapons. In a few seconds, the situation will explode. But then Isabella does something completely unexpected. She laughs, a soft, almost musical laugh that breaks the tension in a surreal way. "My God, you are paranoid," she says, standing up and casually walking toward the window. "Nathan has security equipment spread throughout the property. We were robbed a few months ago, remember, darling? Since then, he's been obsessive about security. Emma follows her sister's lead, laughing too. He even put cameras in my guest room. It's a bit excessive, but understandable. Nathan picks up the cue. I can show you the monitoring system if you want. All legal, just basic precaution. For a moment, Victor seems to hesitate. The explanation is plausible, and the naturalness with which they respond to the accusation seems genuine. But then he makes a decision that changes everything. Marcus, he calls one of his men. Bring him here. The living room doors open again, and Emma feels the world collapse when she sees who is pushed into the room. It's a middle-aged man, wearing dirty clothes and with a bruised face. It takes a moment for her to recognize him. It's Richard Sinclair, her father. "Hello, daughters," Richard says, his voice broken by pain and fear. "I'm sorry for putting you in this situation." Victor positions himself behind Richard, pulling out a gun that he presses against the older man's neck. Now that the family is complete, we can have a more honest conversation. Richard here told us a very interesting story about his twin daughters, about how one was given up for adoption and the other raised in the convent, about how you plotted this elaborate deception to fool very dangerous people. Emma feels tears burning her eyes. Her father, the man she barely knew, who delivered her as payment for a debt, is there, in the hands of criminals, because of the consequences of his own actions. "What do you want?" Nathan asks, his voice finally showing signs of tension. "We want justice," Victor responds. "Richard owes a lot of money. You deceived us, made us waste time and resources. That has a price." "How much?" "It's not a question of money, Nathan. It's a question of respect, and of ensuring that no one else tries to deceive us in the same way." Victor makes a signal, and the other men draw their weapons, pointing them at the group. Emma instinctively moves closer to Isabella, who discreetly moves her protective hand to her womb. "Here's what's going to happen," Victor continues, still with the gun pressed against Richard's head. "One of Richard's daughters will come with us. The other stays here. Nathan chooses which. And if anyone tries to follow us or call the police, both die, along with dear Daddy." The silence that follows is deafening. Emma looks at Isabella, then at Nathan, then at the father she barely knows but who is there, about to die because of his debts and lies. It's when she realizes that the decision was made long ago, from the moment she set foot in Blackstone Manor, from the moment she fell in love with Nathan, from the moment she found the sister she never knew she had. "I'll go," Emma says, stepping forward. "I'll go with you." "No." Nathan and Isabella speak at the same time, but Emma silences them with a look. "I'll go," she repeats, looking directly into Victor's eyes. "But with one condition." Emma's offer to go with the criminals hangs in the air like a bomb about to explode. Victor studies her with renewed interest, the gun still pressed against Richard's neck. "Condition?" he asks, an eyebrow arched. "You're not in a position to make demands, dear." Emma takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of everyone's gaze in the room. "You want one of Richard's daughters. I am Emma Sinclair, the daughter who was promised to settle the debt. I'll go with you voluntarily, without resistance. But you leave my father here. He no longer represents any threat." "Emma, no." Nathan takes a step toward her, but one of Victor's men immediately points a gun at him. "It's an interesting proposal." Victor walks around Emma, evaluating her as if she were merchandise. "But tell me, why should I trust someone who participated in such an elaborate deception?" "Because I had no choice in the deception," Emma responds, keeping her voice firm despite the fear consuming her. "I was brought here without knowing anything. I discovered the truth about my sister, about my father's debts, about you only a few days ago. If I had known from the beginning, I would have presented myself directly to you." Isabella moves slightly, and Emma realizes her sister is trying to get closer to the door, probably planning an escape. But Emma knows she can't let Isabella take risks, not while pregnant. "What she says is true." Richard speaks for the first time since being pushed into the room, his voice weak but determined. "Emma was raised by nuns. She knew nothing about Isabella or my debts. She's innocent in all this." "Innocent." Victor repeats the word, as if it had a bitter taste. "Interesting word. But you made me waste time, money, and credibility. That has consequences." It's when Emma hears something that makes her heart race, the almost imperceptible sound of cars approaching the manor. Many cars. Nathan had mentioned that his FBI contact would be on standby, but Emma wasn't sure if he would really come or if he would arrive in time. Victor also hears the noises, and his expression immediately hardens. "Marcus," he orders one of the men, "go check outside." Marcus heads to the window, discreetly pulls back the curtain, and his expression changes drastically. "Boss, we have company." "A lot of company? FBI cars, at least 6 vehicles." Chaos erupts in the room instantly. Victor presses the gun more forcefully against Richard's head while his men position themselves at the windows, checking possible escape routes. Emma takes advantage of the confusion to approach Isabella, pulling her behind the sofa. "You turned us in," Victor shouts, his composure finally breaking. "Nathan, you son of a bitch, you turned us in." Nathan raises his hands in a sign of surrender, but his voice remains calm. "Victor, let's resolve this in a civilized manner. No one needs to get hurt." "Civilized?" Victor laughs, but it's a hysterical laugh. "You think that after all this we're going to surrender quietly?" Through the windows, Emma can hear amplified voices ordering everyone in the house to surrender. Powerful spotlights illuminate the manor's facade, turning night into day. The police operation is well coordinated and definitely not a coincidence. "You have 5 minutes to come out with your hands up," echoes the voice from a megaphone. "The house is surrounded." Victor presses the gun even harder against Richard, and Emma can see the desperation growing in his eyes. Desperate men are unpredictable and dangerous. "Nobody leaves here," he shouts. "If the police enter, everyone dies." It's when Isabella does something that surprises everyone in the room. She stands up from her hiding place behind the sofa and slowly walks toward Victor, her hands visibly positioned over her womb. "Victor," she says, her voice soft but firm, "do you have children?" The question catches the man off guard. "What?" "Children. Do you have children?" Isabella continues approaching slowly, ignoring the weapons pointed at her. "That's none of your business." "I'm pregnant," Isabella announces, stopping a few meters from Victor. 3 months. This baby is not to blame for my father-in-law's debts, my husband's mistakes, or your business disputes. Emma sees the hesitation in Victor's eyes. For a moment, the hardened criminal seems to remember his own humanity. "Please," Isabella continues, "let my father-in-law go. Let my sister go. Let everyone go. Keep just me as a hostage. A pregnant woman is more valuable for negotiating with the police than an old man and 2 women." "Isabella, no." Emma stands up, preparing to intervene, but Nathan holds her by the arm. "She knows what she's doing," he whispers, but Emma can see the pain in his eyes. Victor considers the proposal for a moment that seems eternal. Through the windows, the police voices become more insistent, and Emma can hear movement around the house. The siege is closing in. "It's a good proposal," Victor finally responds, "but it doesn't change the fact that you betrayed me, and betrayal has a price." He moves the gun from Richard's head and points it directly at Isabella. Emma feels her world collapse. In an impulse that comes from a place deeper than fear, she throws herself in front of her sister. The shot resounds through the room like thunder. Emma feels the impact like a punch in her left shoulder, the heat rapidly spreading through her arm and chest. She falls to the floor, hearing Isabella and Nathan's screams as if they were coming from far away. Through her vision that begins to darken at the edges, she sees the confusion that settles in the room. More shots, screams, the sound of doors being broken down. The FBI bursts into the room like a force of nature, tactical commands with shields and automatic weapons, taking control of the situation in seconds. Emma sees Victor being knocked to the ground, handcuffed, while his men surrender or are immobilized. Nathan is at her side, pressing his hands against the wound in her shoulder, whispering words she can no longer distinguish. Isabella kneels on the other side, tears streaming down her face, one hand holding Emma's, the other protectively over her womb. "You're an idiot," Isabella whispers, smiling through the tears. "A brave, stupid idiot." Emma tries to smile back, but feels consciousness slipping away. The last thing she sees before fainting is Nathan's face, marked by worry and by a love she never doubted was real. When she wakes up, she's in a hospital room in Atlanta. The first thing she sees is Nathan sleeping in a chair beside the bed, his unshaven face and wrinkled clothes indicating he hasn't left there for days. Through the window, she can see it's day, but has no idea how much time has passed. "Nathan," she whispers, her voice hoarse and weak. He wakes up immediately, his eyes filling with relief when he sees her awake. "Emma, thank God you scared me." Isabella? My father? They're fine. Everyone's fine. Isabella is in the next room resting. Your father is being treated for some injuries, but he'll recover completely. Nathan takes her hand, squeezing it gently. You saved your sister's life. And your nephew's. Emma feels tears burning her eyes. And Victor, the others, arrested, all of them, and not just for kidnapping and attempted murder. The recordings we managed to get before they discovered the equipment were enough to incriminate the entire corruption network. Sheriffs, prosecutors, businessmen, dozens of arrests. Emma closes her eyes, finally feeling peace settle in her chest. It's over. It's really over. And now, she asks, opening her eyes to find Nathan's intense gaze. Now. He leans in and gently kisses her forehead. Now we rebuild our lives. Together. You, me, and Isabella. A real family. Emma smiles, feeling love spreading through her entire being like a sweet, comforting warmth. For the first time since she arrived at Blackstone Manor, she feels completely safe, completely loved, completely free. 6 months later, Emma is on the porch of Blackstone Manor, watching the sun set over the Blue Ridge Mountains. The wound in her shoulder left a discreet scar, but she has recovered completely, both physically and emotionally. The property, which before seemed somber and full of secrets, is now truly a home. Isabella approaches along the porch, her womb now rounded by the 8th month of pregnancy. The two sisters have developed an intimacy they never imagined possible, filling decades of separation with conversations, laughter, and a complicity that only twins can share. How are you feeling? Emma asks, helping Isabella sit in the rocking chair that Nathan installed especially for her. Anxious, Isabella smiles, caressing her belly. The doctor said it could be any moment now. Nathan is more nervous than I am. The two laugh, watching through the window as Nathan animatedly talks on the phone with the pediatrician, asking detailed questions about the delivery for the 3rd time this week. The transformation in him has been impressive. The controlling and somber man has given way to someone more open, more affectionate, more present. Imminent fatherhood has awakened in him a tenderness that Emma didn't know existed. Emma? Isabella takes her hand. I need to tell you something. What is it? I've decided on the baby's name. If it's a boy, it will be Michael. If it's a girl, it will be Hope. Emma feels tears burning her eyes. Hope. The name is perfect for a child who will be born after so much darkness, representing the luminous future that all of them have built together. Isabella, I want you to be the godmother. Officially. And I want this child to grow up, knowing it has 2 mothers who love it. Emma can't contain the tears. During all these months, she feared that her love for Nathan could create tension between the sisters, but Isabella has always surprised her with her generosity and maturity. Where do you want to live after the baby is born? Emma gently asks, a question she has avoided asking, but that needs to be answered. Isabella looks at the valley, at the mountains, at the land that has become a refuge for all of them. Here, she answers without hesitation, I want my child to grow up here in this manor, with you two. Not as a stranger or a guest, but as family. And Nathan. Nathan loves me, Isabella says calmly, and always will. I'm the mother of his child. But you two, you love each other in a different way. A way that I recognize as true and lasting. She turns to look directly into Emma's eyes. He needs you as much as you need him. Nathan chooses this moment to appear on the porch, putting his phone in his pocket with a slightly frustrated expression. The doctor said to stop calling if it's not a real emergency, he announces, making both sisters laugh. You're impossible. Emma stands and approaches him, immediately being enveloped in his arms. The baby will be born when it's time. Easy for you to say, Nathan murmurs against her hair. You're not the anxious father. Actually, Isabella intervenes with a mischievous smile. Technically, Emma will be the stepmother, so she has as much right to be anxious as you do. The word stepmother hangs in the air between them. It's the first time anyone has verbalized the reality that Nathan and Emma are building a life together, that their relationship has evolved from a dangerous attraction to a mature and lasting love. Emma, Nathan pulls back slightly to look into her eyes. There's something I need to ask you. He kneels before her, taking a small velvet box from his pocket. Emma feels her heart stop when he opens it, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. Emma Sinclair, he says, his voice laden with emotion. "Will you marry me? For real this time? For love, not out of obligation or arrangement?" Emma looks at Isabella, who is smiling through the tears, then back to Nathan, kneeling before her on the porch where they have so often talked, argued, and fallen in love. "Yes," she whispers, then repeats louder, "Yes, I want to marry you." Nathan places the ring on her finger with hands that tremble slightly, then stands and kisses her with all the passion they've held back during months of uncertainty and fear. It's a kiss that promises future, stability, eternal love. Isabella gently interrupts, "I think my water broke." The chaos that follows is a mixture of panic and excitement. Nathan runs to get the car while Emma helps Isabella stand, both laughing nervously. In less than 20 minutes, they're on their way to the hospital in Asheville, Nathan driving with excessive care while Isabella does breathing exercises in the back seat. The birth of Michael Nathan Blackwood Sinclair happens 6 hours later, with Emma holding one of Isabella's hands and Nathan holding the other. When the baby finally arrives in the world, small and perfect, crying strongly, the 3 adults cry along with him. "He's beautiful," Emma whispers, watching Nathan hold his son for the first time. The expression on his face is one of pure love and devotion, and Emma knows that this man, who once seemed so dangerous and controlling, will be the most dedicated father in the world. 3 months later, Emma and Nathan marry in an intimate ceremony in the Manor's chapel, with Isabella as the maid of honor and little Michael sleeping peacefully in the arms of his grandmother Martha. Richard Sinclair, completely rehabilitated and now working as a financial consultant for small farmers in the region, walks Emma down the aisle. The ceremony is simple but moving. Emma wears a white lace dress that belonged to the biological mother of the twins, a piece that Isabella insisted she wear. Nathan wears a dark suit, his eyes shining with happiness when he sees his bride walking toward him. "Emma Sinclair," the priest says during the ceremony, "do you take Nathan as your husband, to love and respect him, in joy and in sorrow, in sickness and in health until death do you part?" "I do," Emma responds, her voice firm and clear, echoing through the small chapel. "Nathan James Blackwood, do you take Emma as your wife to love and respect her, in joy and in sorrow, in sickness and in health, until death do you part?" "I do," Nathan responds, gently squeezing Emma's hands. When they finally kiss as husband and wife, Emma feels that her life has truly begun, not in the protected childhood of the convent, not in the moment she arrived at Blackstone Manor, but in this instant, with the man she loves, the sister she found, and the family they've chosen to build together. The reception takes place in the Manor's gardens, with local musicians playing country and jazz, homemade food prepared by Martha and the staff, and an atmosphere of genuine joy. Emma dances with Nathan under the stars, the same sky that witnessed so many dark moments now shining over their happiness. "Do you regret it?" Nathan asks as they dance slowly, the other guests chatting around tables illuminated by party lights. "Regret what?" "Coming here, getting involved with my complicated family, almost dying because of your father's debts." Emma looks around, Isabella laughing with friends from the village, little Michael sleeping in Lucy's arms, who now works as a nanny and communicates perfectly through signs with the family. Richard animatedly talking with neighbors about the improvements Nathan has funded in the region. "Never," she responds, looking back into Nathan's dark eyes. "Everything I went through brought me to you, to this life, to this family." "Even getting shot?" "Especially getting shot," Emma laughs. "It proved I'm brave enough to be with you." Nathan spins her in the dance, then pulls her back into his arms. "I love you, Emma Blackwood. I love you, Nathan Blackwood." 2 years later, Emma is again on the porch of the manor, but this time she's not alone. In her arms, a 3-month-old baby girl nurses peacefully, her dark hair and green eyes identical to her mother's. Sophia Emma Blackwood was born on a spring morning, under the same sky that witnessed the transformation of the entire family. Nathan approaches along the porch, carrying Michael on his shoulders. At 2 years old, the boy is a perfect blend of his parents. He has Nathan's dark eyes and Isabella's sweet smile. He calls Emma Mommy M and treats her with the natural affection of a child who knows only love and security. "How are my girls?" Nathan kisses Emma's forehead, then Sophia's. "Perfect," Emma smiles. "Just like our boy." Isabella appears on the porch holding a tray with cold lemonade. At 28, she has become a confident and independent woman with a degree in psychology and working with family therapy in the region. She never married again, but has occasional boyfriends and an active social life in the community. Martha wants to know if you'll have dinner in the kitchen or if she should serve here on the porch, she announces, distributing the glasses. Here on the porch, Emma responds. It's so beautiful today. They settle around the round table that Nathan had specially installed for family meals. Michael sits in his high chair, clapping his little hands when he sees the food arrive. Sophia sleeps peacefully in the stroller beside Emma. During dinner, they talk about plans for the next week. Nathan has a meeting in New York about expanding the business into sustainable energy. Isabella will present a psychological support project for rural families at the town hall. Emma needs to take Sophia to the pediatrician for routine vaccinations. These are simple domestic conversations of a normal family. But for Emma, who grew up without a family, each of these conversations is a miracle. Each dinner together, each childish argument, each future plan is a blessing that she doesn't take for granted. When the children finally fall asleep and Isabella retires to her quarters, Emma and Nathan are left alone on the porch, watching the stars as they did at the beginning of their relationship. But now there is no tension, fear, or uncertainty. Just the peace of those who have found their place in the world. What are you thinking about? Nathan asks, pulling her closer on the wicker sofa. About how life can completely change in such a short time, Emma responds, nestling against his chest. 3 years ago, I was a lonely woman raised by nuns, without family, without prospects. Today, I have a husband I love, 2 children, a sister, even my father back in my life. And you changed my life too, Nathan whispers against her hair. You taught me that love doesn't need to be controlled or feared, that it can be free, generous, transformative. Emma raises her face to look at him. Do you still have nightmares about that night? Sometimes, he admits, but when I wake up and see you beside me, I realize that everything we went through to get here was worth it. They remain silent for a moment, listening to the night sounds of the manor. Crickets singing, the wind in the trees, the distant mooing of cattle. These are sounds of peace, of normal life, of security. Nathan, Emma whispers in the dark, thank you for saving me. You saved me, he responds, kissing the top of her head. You saved all of us. Emma closes her eyes, feeling completely at peace. Blackstone Manor, which once seemed like a dark place full of secrets, is now truly a home. A place where love conquered fear, where family conquered loneliness, where hope conquered despair. And as she falls asleep in the arms of the man she loves, Emma knows she has found something that many people spend their entire lives searching for, a place where she belongs, people who love her unconditionally, and the certainty that no matter what the future brings, they will face it together. In the Blue Ridge Mountains, under the starry sky of rural Virginia, a family sleeps peacefully, knowing that the love that unites them is stronger than any storm that may arise. And in this peace, in this security, in this love, Emma has finally found her home.